How you entrepreneurs? Today we have Manuj Aggarwal. So he is the founder of TetraNoodle Technologies. One of the great things about this gentleman, listening to you talk, he started working in a factory at the age of 15, basically making nothing. He built that out. He knew what he wanted, and he went after it. And he just kept on pushing through, fighting through to become the man that he is today. Listen, subscribe, tell your friends. It doesn't matter where you are right now or where you start. You can finish farther than anyone else. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with real estate agent Vinny SD.
So we are here with Manuj Aggarwal. You are a master of many. You have many businesses, many startups. Can I tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. My background is software and IT, and I've been doing that for about 20 years. I started my career at 15 working in a factory, and from there, I went on into programming and became CTO in multiple companies. I've worked with multiple startups, early stage to Series A, Series B. And I have also worked with large corporations like Microsoft, Pearson Education, some government agencies. So I've done a range of work in different industries, helping people build their technology, grow it, stabilize it, things of that nature. So that's what I love to do. And I also am very much involved in practices like spirituality and meditation. And I try to incorporate these things as I'm working with my coaching clients on technology. I try to incorporate both mindfulness and spirituality into their business because, what I really want for people to have is not just financial success, but also holistic success, satisfaction out of their life, which includes, their personal life, mental well-being, prosperity, and relationships, and all those things combined.
So this idea, this mindset that you have, the spiritual mindset, this is not something that you were born with, correct? Or is it something you were born with?
No, well, I was born in India. I was raised in India. That's where, most of these practices originated. But as a teenager, as you know, nothing sort of affects us because we are on the top of the world. And that's how I used to be, a typical teenager. And then the other thing is, I was really disillusioned with the religion. Because I noticed that, whatever religion teaches, it doesn't really reflect in how religion is carried out in most parts of the world, where, there is a certain person who's responsible to teach you the religion and things of that nature. So I started thinking that spirituality and religion are the same thing. And paradoxically, only when I came over to the West, to North America, I started gravitating more towards spirituality and understanding how it is different from religion. And I started immersing myself into spirituality. One of the things why I did it because I had mental health issues where I was I had anxiety, depression, pessimism, and that was all as a result of my childhood experiences. And so as it was affecting my personal professional life, I started looking for answers, and apart from therapy and things like that, which didn't really help that much, I found meditation, spirituality, they transformed my life in a matter of days, and that was something really like a magic. And that's why, since I found the effects so profound, I try to talk about it. I try to incorporate it into my work, into other people's work, and so on.
Going back into something you said about your childhood, you started in the factories at the age of 15, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And making $2 a day. I mean, how did that come about? What happened there?
Well, I mean, I grew up in India. This is about 20 years ago. So India is still a developing country, but 20 years ago, it was it was quite behind in the economic development stage. And on top of that, I grew up in a very small town, and small towns, just like in North America, they don't have a lot of jobs, a lot of higher education opportunities, and so you had to do what you had to do. So that was the situation. But I knew I wanted more out of life. I knew I had more potential, and so the only thing that was really sort of tough was I didn't know how to get out of that situation, and I just knew I wanted to. And so that again is a testament that if you set your mind to something, this may sound cliche, but if you set your mind to something, it's sort of, things do happen. Like opportunities do come up, and you need to be aware of these opportunities, and you need to be a go-getter to actually go after them. So I had all the odds stacked up against me, and so just by sheer sort of power of mind and hard work and things like that, I was able to get to the point where I am today.
How did you build this plan of who you wanted to be, this mindset? Was there a figure that you looked at? Was it something that you read? Was it, how did that come about?
So it's interesting that you bring it up, because when I actually look back at my life, when I was working in a factory, one of the things that happened was they used to get a lot of business magazines there. And, I used to like sort of flip over the pages, read a few things. And I used to be fascinated by these people who have achieved like tremendous amount of, they have done so much in their life. Wealth was obviously the factor that attracted me most, because I was dirt poor. And, I was like, how can these people achieve so much in one lifetime? I just can't fathom it. And so, I started thinking, okay, if these people can do it, I certainly can do something with my life. And so I used to read stories about these people who went from rags to riches. Like one of the most wealthy person in India, even today, he was like a rickshaw driver, something like, a very low-level labor person. And so I said to myself, like, if these people can reach to these heights, then anybody can do that. So, that sort of broke the glass ceiling that we put ourselves on our own head. And that was broken early on in my life. So I just knew that it is possible. I just didn't know how to do it. And so then, this belief that, okay, something will show up, that was always in the back of my mind. And things did show up at the right time. I mean, obviously, sometimes it took longer. Sometimes it happened right away. But yeah, I mean, that mindset was formed earlier on.
Do you remember that first opportunity, or the first thing that allowed you to get out of the factory?
Yeah. So, interesting story. I was, as I said, there were not many opportunities to learn more or to acquire education. And so one of the things that was happening at that point, programming, IT training was coming up. And since I was in a small town, there were still no institutes teaching that. Luckily, as I was completing my graduation, an institute opened up, and it was quite expensive to enroll, but somehow I saved up enough and whatnot, and I managed to enroll myself into one of the programming courses. And not only I found my love of computers and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I met my future wife there as well. So that was a huge turning point in my life. Like as I said, like I found my wife, I found my profession, and things became so much better. Like it transformed my life from that point onwards.
And so you got to school and you found these opportunities right there. What was that next step that kind of got you into the social media platform? Because you're very much out there. You're on a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different shows. What was that differentiator being like a figurehead? Where did that kind of come from?
Believe it or not, like I'm not a very social person. I'm quite an introvert, and I did not jump onto the social media wagon until maybe even a year ago. I started my podcast in February of this year. Somebody pushed me to do that. So yes, I've been trying to figure this out. But one of the things that has happened with me is just because, again, just because of my experiences in my childhood, whenever I try to do something, I just try to go all in and push it as far as I can. So whatever you're noticing has been sort of a learning experience for me, experimenting with different things and just pushing myself as hard as possible. And it's still a work in progress. I'm nowhere near, some of the more influential people out there. But my desire is to spread the message and help people and share the knowledge that I have been able to gain over time. And that is what drives me. That is what prompts me to, go on more podcasts, share more on social media, learn about the things that I was uncomfortable with, putting myself out there.
Well, so talking about kind of jumping fully into this social media platform and building what you have currently, there had to be some hurdles you've had to overcome. From your childhood to where you are now. Can you kind of walk us through maybe one or two of those kind of hurdles and how you did it?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, every day is a challenge. Anybody who's an entrepreneur or even a career professional, they'll know life is not easy in most cases. So it's about how you tackle it, right? One of the key things, as I said earlier, was my shyness and my this belief I had that if you're good enough, if you know what you're doing, then you don't need to market yourself. People will come to you. And that was a false premise. And I realized that when I was working with multiple startups and they had a tremendous product, but they didn't get any traction in the market. And that's when I realized that it doesn't matter, even if you have the best product in the world, you really need to focus on marketing and getting out there. And that was a mindset shift that happened in my mind. And then, I said, okay, I need to put myself out there. Now, what's next? How do I build the content? How do I spread the message? How do I keep the content relevant and fresh? So earlier on, I didn't know how to, I was not a good writer. It's like everything had to be figured out. And so, when I started first, I just started posting other people's content. I used to post CNN articles on LinkedIn, and obviously nobody is interested in that. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to post and nobody's interested. What's going on? And then slowly I learned, okay, I need to have original content, and then original content that needs to be targeted. And then I need to read people, sort of build an audience which is aligned with my values so that I can share the content which is not only resonating with me, will resonate with other people. And then, once you start doing that, you need to dig deeper and figure out, okay, how does the algorithm work? How engagement counts more than posting, consistency counts. So all these little things that you have to understand, I had to learn. And I'm sure I'm just, maybe scratching the surface here. I have so much more to learn. But these are the things you need to learn to get to, to get noticed first. And then you need to build on that momentum and build the brand. And that has been a huge learning curve, but it has been a lot of fun at the same time.
So you're talking about like a lot of micro activities, right? Where you're kind of first doing this to this. How many times do you look at the macro idea of what's next? Or the
macro idea is again, I have an end goal in mind, and with that end goal, I try to break it up into several steps, because you can't shoot for the moon. You have to go one step at a time. And so building all this social media presence and spreading awareness is one step. The other steps are building the content, building the coaching programs, building gaining the experience that you need to be able to coach people. All these things are several steps that some of them are in the future, some of them are running in parallel, some of them have been accomplished. So so social media, understanding all this is just one step. And once I figured out that step, then you need to break it down into those micro steps and micro tasks that you need to complete and then understand. So that's how generally large goals are accomplished, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Now, if you could look back at like that younger self, that kid that was in the factory, right? 15-year-old kid that was looking at those business magazines, what kind of advice do you think you'd give that kid today?
Well, what advice will I give? I will say to that kid that, don't doubt yourself, because whatever you thought was possible is possible. So just don't doubt yourself. Go all in. because there was a lot of hesitation, there was a lot of fear of even thinking about chasing something big, because I used to think, who am I to think this big. People will laugh at me. I'm nobody. I couldn't even speak English properly. So what I will say is, like, drop all those apprehensions and just go for it, and things will work out.
We're talking about who are you, that kind of thing. Were there doubters around you?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, even till today, like, there's always doubters around you, like your friend, your family. Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, like, everybody has been taught a certain way of living. Like, we don't come with manuals as humans, but we have built a mold for ourselves. And that mold is given to you, handed over to you by your parents, by your teachers, the institutions around us, and you have to fit within that mold. If you don't fit in within that mold, then you are an outcast, and people start to say, you're not going to succeed. Who do you think you are? This is how we've been living for centuries, so you better come in line. And so those kind of people are going to be around you all the time. They're not going to go away. But it's a lot more like, you just need to focus on what you see, how you see the world, and just go after it, and just put aside those naysayers and just block them out. If anything, take motivation from them and say to them, hey, I know what I'm doing. I see that clear vision, and I will show you there's a different way of living. So that's what I will say.
So by blocking them out, do you still have like naysayers that are close to you that you're kind of talking to on a consistent basis? Okay.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, all the time. Like, I don't want to name names, but there are people very close to me who understand what I'm trying to do, but also, sometimes they express their doubts. They say, do you think this is the right thing for you, or what have you? So, yeah, but the thing is, like, the proof is in the pudding. So as the results show up, these naysayers, they start to dwindle. They start to get converted, and in some cases they start asking, hey, what are you doing? Tell me a little bit about you. I want to do the same thing. So people who used to be scared of you or used to run away from you, they start to come around, and they start to notice, and they start asking for advice. And that's the sign. That's the big sign that you are on the right path, you are doing the right thing. And so continue doing that. And this is my personal experience, but I know a lot of other people who go down this path, and they have similar experience.
So what's the future hold? How are you going to get rid of more of those naysayers?
I see, the thing is, like, once you realize, once you are self-aware, you realize that there is no way to get rid of good or bad. So good and bad will coexist, and there is a place for it in this world. So you need to be comfortable with the naysayers. You need to accept them. And as I said, if you cannot take any positive motivation from them, so just reach out within to sort of block out their negative energy. You cannot block them out, but you can block out their negative energy, or you can at least have so much more positive energy that sort of diminishes or drowns that negative energy. And that's the best way to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, you can never get rid of the bad. You just can, you can just take motivation from it, accept it, acknowledge it, and just have it in your life, and just try to raise your positive energy, even if it's slightly more than the negative one.
Fair enough. Well, what's next with you? What's next with your future? What we talked in 3 years? What's going to be happening at that time?
Well, I want to impact more people. I want to impact more people gain their freedom, gain their financial independence, gain more happiness and satisfaction in their life. And that's what I'm working towards, working on my coaching programs. I'm also trying to work on launching some retreats where we can have more intimate settings and sort of focused work on certain areas. So if in 3 years my dream comes true, I would like to have like a transformational institute or some sort of an institution where people can come, people who are suffering from anxiety or any kind of mental illness, or if they're not satisfied in their life, come for a week or so, go through some transformational practices, and go back a new human being with all their worries and anxieties leaving behind, sort of living the life that they want to.
So if someone wants to be on this bus, be on this journey, get more information about future events, your coaching, whatnot, how would they be able to keep track?
Yeah. So look me up on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm very active on both platforms, and I have a free gift for your listeners. You can go to mind.innerget.com. So it's mind.innerget.com. So there's a 6-part video series that I have built for people who are interested in mindset coaching. Basically just learning about their own self, and that's free as a gift to your users or listeners.
All right, appreciate it. Well, thank you, Manoj, for being on the podcast. Thank all the listeners for taking a listen. Please subscribe, please share. Follow Manoj on Facebook, follow him on his platforms. And again, thank you again for being on this platform.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a great one.
Thank you for listening to The Road to Growth, Success of an Entrepreneur. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected. Visit www.vinnySD.com.
Yeah, I created a website.
Hope to see you again next week. Team Vinny SD, signing off.